Hello, my name is Jimmy and this is the 2021 Mercedes AMG GLE 63S 4MATIC Plus Coupe. It's this long of a name, literally this long of a name, but it's actually a relatively big SUV. So let's talk about this vehicle a little bit. I don't understand this coupe shape of an SUV. I mean, when you buy an SUV, you buy it because you want an SUV, you want that utility. This, you don't have that utility because it's a coupe. It's not the regular kind of boxy shape. You can't stow as much on this than the regular model. But to be honest, it doesn't matter if it makes sense to me. I'm not the buyer for a vehicle like this. BMW makes the X6, there's a Cayenne Coupe, there's the X4, there's the GLC Coupe, Infiniti has their QX55. I mean, everyone's getting into this coupe market. I mean, Acura killed theirs off, the ZDX, you may remember that. But there's definitely a market for this. There's people that like this. I'm not one of them. But I want to find out in this video who this is for and why you may choose this over the standard GLE. First, let's talk a little bit about styling. On the front end, we got your typical Mercedes headlights. They look really good and they shine the roads, well, really well, obviously. You got the Panamericana grille and an AMG style front bumper. Pretty standard Mercedes AMG affair here. On the side, we got 22-inch wheels, massive brakes behind that. Of course, you got the coupe-like profile. And then, of course, a badge here, V8 bi-turbo 4MATIC Plus. Just to let you know, it's something a little bit special. One thing I do have to note, I love how the sunroof looks when it's open. That's why I have it open right now. Just beautiful. But the rear end, that's different. Because it is a coupe or a coupe, depending on where you're from, you got this slanted rear window, good coupe taillights. This actually reminds me of like the S-Class, the S Coupe or coupe. Looks really, really good. And then rifled quad exhaust tips on the bottom. I mean, it's not bad looking at all. I don't mind how it looks, but it's just a little bit chunky back here. But let's take a look at the inside, starting with the trunk. Because the biggest area of compromise is, well, trunk space. In here, there's less space overall than the regular GLE, non-coupe variant. But what I can say is, well, underneath the tonneau cover, it's about the same. So as long as you're not always stacking things above, it's not too much of a compromise. And of course, like a lot of GLEs and a lot of other Mercedes products, there's a button on the side that you can press on to lower the rear suspension to make things just a little bit easier to lift in and out. But let's go to that back row to see if there's any other compromises there. All right, the back seats of the GLE. I do love the soft closed doors. That's always a great feature. In terms of headroom, it's actually not bad because there's a scallop above my head. Me at 5'11", I can sit up comfortably, and there's plenty of legroom as you can see here. So it actually doesn't feel too bad in terms of accommodating in size. The windows are a little bit small, so you can get a little claustrophobic back here, but it's not bad. Heated seats, got a good little armrest with integrated cup holders. It's not bad. I do love soft closed doors. In any case, the front seats, they're heated, they're ventilated, not cooled because they don't actually blow cold air, which is like a fault that all Mercedes have. But I mean, the seats are super comfortable. There's great lumbar support and adjustable bolsters on the side to really squeeze you into the vehicle. I love everything about these seats. The massaging feature also works pretty great. In front of me, I got the typical Mercedes AMG steering wheel. Looks good. I got my little touchpad on the left to control my cluster, little touchpad on the right to control the infotainment, and on the bottom, drive mode selector, love that option, and on the left, some performance settings that I can change, like the exhaust, the suspension, and the dynamics mode. I mean, it's just easy to have these here. They are redundant to what I have here in the center, as well as what's in the menu, but it's just easier to have this here. Behind that, I got my full digital cluster. That's the same with basically all Mercedes these days. Right now, I'm on my favorite super sport settings. Big tack in the center, speed off to the side. Love this mode. Above, an amazing heads-up display that shows you everything that you need. Speed limit, you got your tack, you got your speed, you got your radar guided cruise. You got everything that you really need right up on the heads-up display. And of course, you can't miss the infotainment. Pretty typical Mercedes infotainment. Yes, you can use the touchscreen, the touchpad that I mentioned previously, as well as the touchpad right here on the center. Not a fan of this touchpad. It just doesn't work well while you're driving. You know, when you're moving along, you would think this touchpad on the steering wheel is the easiest, but really it's not. It's actually the touchscreen. Or you can say, hey Mercedes,
how can I help?
Turn on the ambient lighting.
I'm turning on the ambient light.
So that also works and actually looks great in here. So yeah, there's a few things that I really love about this infotainment. There's a few things that I don't like. The infotainment itself, there's just so many menus. I mean, when you're buying a luxury car like this, there's just a lot of things you can really select and choose from. Options, plentiful. And the problem with that is there's just a million menus in here for you to choose from. So you can really get lost in it. And there's no wireless CarPlay, which kind of sucks because I have a wireless Qi charger, but in order for me to connect my phone, I will have to use this USB-C to Lightning cable that I have to connect it. It just sucks not having that ability, but overall this cabin is absolutely beautiful. It's a Mercedes, so obviously it would be. You got this amazing leather on here, the stitching, the carbon fiber that's here, everything looks beautiful. Really no complaints about, you know, how the fit and finish or how everything feels. One thing I did notice though is there's no grab handles on the top. So, and it's not only for the front, also for the rear. So if you're, you know, being a little bit more aggressive while driving, your passengers, they're probably just gonna be, you know, like this, flailing. In any case, let's go for a drive. I mean, it's an AMG product. We have to go for a drive to really feel what it's like. So let's go. All right, on the road with the GLE 63S Coupe. When you're driving around normally like this in comfort mode, it's comfortable, soft, quiet. Kind of like what you expect a Mercedes to be. But then, if you are a little crazy, there's a Sport Plus or even a race mode where you can select, and then that skinny pedal on the right becomes a fun meter. Because okay, it can go pretty quick. Under the hood, there's a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. It makes 603 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. But power is nothing without control, and if you have it on Sport Plus, it has dynamic dampers which stiffen up the chassis a little bit, so you're able to go around corners at a speed that I will not disclose, and it'll feel like a regular car going a corner at like 30 kilometers per hour. It's insane. This car is a whole lot of fun. I mean, is it more fun than the E63S that I reviewed, I think it was like 2 weeks ago now? 3 weeks ago? I don't know, something like that. Probably not. I think the E63 may be a little bit better. Lower center of gravity. You know, there's some aspects to it that's just a little bit better. But this, well, this is still a whole lot of fun. But let's be honest. You know, for most people that are going to be buying this vehicle, you're driving around normally and maybe in comfort or sport mode, because you're not going to be always in Sport Plus because the exhaust, it's a little obnoxious if you have that kind of like thundering through the city all the time. So So when you're in comfort or sport, everything kind of settles down and it feels like a regular Mercedes. And that's definitely a good thing, because at $150,000, this is not cheap. And it has to do a lot of things in one vehicle. And it kind of does it pretty well, I think, because sure, it can be a sports car because it has the power for it. You put the foot down and it goes. It has the ability to be really, really quick. But when you're driving around like this, it can be actually decently fuel efficient, because right now it's running on 4 cylinders, something that a lot of V8s do, cylinder deactivation, just to help with fuel economy. I don't have the actual, I mean, I can go into my actual specs here, but it's not going to be good because 23 liters for 100 kilometers. That's not great. But chances is you're going to be a lot better than that than I would be, simply because while filming there's a lot of starting and stopping and maneuvering and all that stuff, so it's not a true representation of what this vehicle can do. But I think the best thing for this vehicle to do is not just to drive around town. There's one thing that it does really, really well above everything else. So let me go to my destination and show you exactly what that is. And welcome back. Almost at my destination now. So, I mean, this video, I was trying to find out what the GLE Coupe is good for. So it's not really a practical vehicle, as has this rear end kind of lobbed off there. It doesn't fit people as well as the standard GLE, so it's not as accommodating. And even the standard GLE, I think you can still get a 7-seat configuration. Could be wrong on that. But, I mean, either case, in here you definitely aren't as comfortable as a standard GLE. And you're probably not going to take this to the track because it's a high-riding SUV. There's much better track cars. Sure, you can take it to a drag strip and it'll do really well there, consistent launches with the launch control that it has. But there's one thing that I found that this GLE Coupe does better than, okay, maybe not better, but it does really well at, and that's cars and coffee. Because when you roll up to cars and coffee, people are going to be staring at your car. And there's nothing more, odd and unique than a GLE 63S. So I'm going to see if I can find a Cars and Coffee on this Sunday morning to show off this GLE 63S a little bit. But I guess before we get there, let's just do an overview of the vehicle. It's 150,000 Canadian dollars. It's not cheap. Twin-turbo 4-liter V8, 603 horsepower. Plenty of power. Is it a vehicle for everyone? Definitely not. It's for the minute few that just, wants to kind of show off their cars a little bit, and maybe for someone that already has everything, because, this is more unique and is a little bit more different than your standard, the standard GLE 63. This is just a little bit more fun, let's say. So, yeah, let's see if I can find this Cars and Coffee this morning. Okay, so it looks like Cars and Coffee isn't happening today, or maybe it's happening at another location, because this is generally where they are on the Sunday morning and there's no cars here. Yes, showing off this vehicle isn't happening today. I guess in any case, thank you so much for watching this video. Like the video if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.